The British Armed Forces have just received another huge pay rise, but morale is still at an all-time low. Is this enough to keep the soldiers in? That's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. So first off, let's start off with the new pay rise then. Pretty decent, I do have to say. Another 4.5% pay rise. Okay, that's in top of the 6% they got last year. So over 1 year, so since July 2024, they have received 10.5% pay rise. When I left the military in 2022, I believe the starting salary for a corporal was around £33,000. That's now, depending on what grade you are, you could be starting corporal on around £39,500. £39,500. This is not millionaires' wages, I know that. But from when I joined the army, which was around £13,000 when you was in training, you're now going to be getting £26,334 in training. That is from day one. Day one. So those who are looking to join the army and are struggling to decide because they're worried about the pay is increasing. You do not join the military for money. You can make quite a bit of money when you go on overseas and exercises. You're living in the block. You don't have many outgoings. If you're good with money, you can save a lot of money. You can buy into property, but you don't join for the money. You join for the job. But money is what makes the world go round. We know that. It really is. Money is what makes the world go round. And pay is such an important factor, especially for those with families as well, or looking to start a family. So this is huge. The government say it's because of your dedication and your professionalism, which is so true, but it's because they know they can't keep not increasing your pay. When I joined, we went for about 2 or 3 years of pay freezes. We didn't get no pay rise at all. But this is in line or just above inflation, sorry. But this also does come with a but. Yes, you're getting 4.5% pay rise, but rental charges for single living accommodation are also increasing, with the highest grade rooms rising by the same percentage. Apparently accommodation is going up 4.5%. I'm guessing food will be going up as well. So annoying. I know things have got to go up, but it's disgusting. You get a pay rise and you barely see it because you get tax, national insurance on it, and then food and accommodation and everything else goes up. But it's good to see. You know, some guys are receiving over the last year in the military £3,000 to £6,000 pay increase, because it's all the way up to 1 star. The pay increase is unbelievable. It's amazing. But as we said, morale is at an all-time low. So we're just going to watch this from BFBS News, where a survey has been done. It's not looking good. So have a watch of this. Let's have a look.
Just under 32,000 personnel were asked for their views for this year's attitude survey. 9,360 responded.
Typical response, shocking. I know when I was in, I didn't respond to enough surveys, but 9,360 people responded, okay?
And a third, with the RAF providing the most responses. Morale remains a pressing issue. Fewer than half, just 42%, say they're satisfied with service life in general.
So out of 9,500, only 42% are satisfied. So that means 58% are not satisfied. Okay, so that's over 4,500 of 9,000. Can you imagine if they surveyed the whole army? It's insane numbers.
Unchanged from last year and stuck at the lowest level since 2018. RAF personnel reported a modest improvement, but across the board, nearly 6 in 10 rate service-wide morale as low.
We've known this. When I left in 2022, I knew morale was low. I knew I had to move on. Don't get me wrong, the military is brilliant, and if you've never been in before, it's still a good career to at least do the minimum 4 years. I always recommend people join to do the minimum 4 years, but it's just not right at the minute. People are being messed around. People, they're cutting numbers, or they're not getting recruitment numbers in, but it's still the same amount of jobs. So people are doing more work, having to do more jobs. Kit and equipment's always messed around. It's not always the right kit and equipment. Obviously, pay's an issue with cost of living crisis. The man management skills, the way promotions all dealt with. There's a lot of things that they could fix.
Job satisfaction fares a little better. Nearly 2/3 of respondents were content in their roles.
So I mean, people like the roles they're doing. Majority of the time, it's the way it's managed.
Pay is another major issue. Satisfaction with the rate of basic pay slightly from last year, but only a third feel their salary reflects the demands of military life, despite a 6% uplift and targeted support for new joiners. And fewer than 1 in 3 agree that the X Factor payment, which tops up their basic pay, is enough to compensate for the demands of service life. Least happy with
And this is the issue, okay? You don't join the service for the money. We get that. You know what you're signing up for. But after a while, it can take its toll. Especially when you start going through the ranks, you're taking on managerial roles, supervisory roles. The amount of people you're managing, the kit and equipment, the value of it, you're managing, the time you're doing it, the lack of sleep, sleep deprivation, not getting the correct food, the unsociable hours. You know, people, for what we manage, you'd be on double on the outside world. So a corporal managing, you know, an 8-man team would be on more money, most probably on civilian street. A sergeant managing possibly 30 blokes with an officer would be on more money on civvy street. A sergeant major, you know, the most senior bloke within that squadron company, you know, the guy in charge of those guys, 40, 50, be on about 50 grand now of his pay rises, would be on a lot more for the 90 people they're helping manage on civvy street. An RSM, the most senior guy in the regiment, the regimental sergeant major, managing the blokes, hundreds of them, would be on 6 figures in civvy street with the lack of sleep, unsociable hours, stuff like that. So don't sign up for the money, but after a while you think, hang on, what I'm doing, I could earn a lot more on civvy street. I've got a family, I've got to live, I've got to pay bills.
Pay with the Royal Marines. Figures for pensions and allowances have also improved, but here there's a stark difference between officers and other ranks. 2/3 of officers are happy, but just 34% of non-commissioned personnel.
There's a massive difference between officers' pay, though. There is a massive difference, as you can see here. Obviously, they're managing blokes from the start, but 34,600 for pay while in Sandhurst, and after training, it's 41,400. So straight away, they're on more than a corporal when they leave Sandhurst, just under a sergeant. So, and obviously, as they go through the ranks, you can see why they may be a bit upset about that, especially the more sort of senior non-commissioned officers.
About their deployment notice, work-life balance and fairness at work, most personnel were satisfied, with the RAF seemingly the most content.
Of course they are. Are you happy with deployment notice, way of life, service living? Yes, because when we go on exercise, we're put up in hotels. Of course we're happy. We've got the better food.
When it comes to equipment, views are split. Half the respondents were satisfied with personal equipment, but only 30% were content with the standard of major kit.
I'm not surprised, because it's always breaking. When I was on the CVRT, it was always falling apart. Now we've got a new Ajax. Look how long that come in. Every bit of kit and equipment is from like the 80s and 90s, and just little bits of upgrades happen to them. The Warrior is old now. The Charlie 2 is old. The Ajax has finally come in, but how long has that taken? Like, weapon system, we're still using the SA-80. You know,
recorded level and 15% below its peak.
Even the Jackal's old now.
2012. Just 30% of those surveyed said they were happy with the big ticket items they were using. The least satisfied with both their major kit and their personal equipment were again the Royal Marines.
Obviously, Marines, posh boys, hard to please.
6 in 10 personnel said they plan to stay in the services this year, about the same as it's been since 2021.
Look at that. 60% of personnel plan to stay in the armed forces. 40%. Do you think we're getting those numbers in recruitment? Work on retention. Yes, we need to work on recruit numbers, but let's keep the guys that we spent the money on, the guys with the experience. They're the guys you want to keep.
But 41% have actively searched for jobs outside the services in the past 12 months.
I'm not surprised. People are always looking out for jobs.
2/3 said it was because of the impact on their family and personal life. 70% of personnel said promotion was a major factor in how satisfied they were in their service career, but only around a third were satisfied with their opportunities to rise through the ranks.
This is because the pyramid, first of all, family, the army comes first. You are a number, army is your life. You've got to know that if you're joining. Army is your life, family second. Army first, family second. Say it. Army first, family second. Promotion. Triangle, obviously 8 blokes in a section. Troop, possibly 1 full screw, a couple of lance corporals, 1 sergeant for the troop. You know, you got to go up. You got to wait for someone to move on a lot of the time. And also a lot of the time, people are promoted because they want them to move on. They don't end up moving on, so they end up staying. The ones with the loud mouths but aren't very good at the jobs end up promoting sometimes. The good blokes sometimes promote. I have to say, sometimes promotion in the army, you see a lot of good blokes promote quickly, and they should. But a lot of times you see blokes that promote and shouldn't promote. And the blokes that should promote don't promote. I've seen it happen so many times.
On accommodation, the figures show things are improving. After a big dip 2 years ago, satisfaction with requests for maintenance on military accommodation has improved, rising to 34%.
I actually went 6 months without a toilet because every time I reported it, they said they would send someone to come and fix it, and they wouldn't. I literally had no toilet for 6 months.
On catering, it's not so good though. While half the respondents said they were happy with the opening hours of their dining facility, only a third, 33%, said they were satisfied with the food they received.
The
scores for leadership show some improvement, particularly in the RAF. 2/3 of personnel believe their bosses are committed to creating a diverse and inclusive workplace.
Don't need to be diverse and inclusive. You need the right person for the correct job. Why is that even a question? Are you good for the job? Are you the right man or woman for the job? Yes. Cool. Done. Tick.
But trust in senior leaders to act on these survey results remains low. Just 1 in 4 personnel believe action will be taken.
Yeah,
so while
true.
there are pockets of progress in areas including pay, housing maintenance and RAF morale, the wider results paint a picture of a military with much to do and an armed forces under strain.
We've known this for a long time, okay? Morale is low. Worker morale, worker retention, keep the numbers, recruitment, boost the numbers. You've had it there. Morale is low, but pay's going up. So we know pay's an issue. Pay is getting better. You don't join for pay. But they really need to work. The problem is with the army, it's not a normal day-to-day job. And a lot of people leave because of family. But you're going to struggle to combat that because you are so busy. You're off here, there, everywhere around the world. You've got to go on these long exercises. You've got to go on these overseas exercises. You've got to go on these operations. You've got to go on these courses. So that's the problem. I don't know how you fix that, actually, to be honest. But you can work on the other stuff. Make sure the equipment's good. Good order. You've got the correct equipment. Pay's good. Food's good. Accommodation's good. You work on all that, then those little niggly factors there won't build up so much on the family issues. The family issues will be an issue. But they will say, look, we've got a good accommodation. The food's good. The pay's good. The pension's good. The dental, the medical. We've got this one issue. But when you've got all that's a little issue and then family's a big issue, then that inflicts on that. If everything else is happy, you can sort of work with the one bad thing. But when everything else is bad and then you've got the big major issue, it all falls apart. There's my points. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you soon.